Hello, and welcome to a higher-powered episode of We Only Look Thin. I am one of your hosts, Donald Wygal. I almost said Sir Donald Wygal for some reason. You think I could get a knighthood for Sir Donald Wygal for his contributions to weight loss and the crown? I have lost a little over 100 pounds, and I am here to tell you about it. And with me is...
Catherine Wygal.
Oh, delightful.
Yes, I have no prefix.
Dame Catherine Wygal.
More like Damn Catherine Wygal. Hi, I'm Catherine Wygal, and I have lost 150 pounds. And
wow,
I'm on a podcast, and this is it. And it's
this
happening.
is it. Yes, and it is called We Only Look Thin, and you're listening to it right now.
Wow, how long are we going to keep this going? Because we've got lots to talk about, and that's why we're combining the product of the week and the tip of the week into Pow Tow.
Pow Tow.
The T's are silent except
All
for the
T's are silent.
Except for the one, except for the tip of the week, but the second T is silent.
Yes, not all T's are silent.
They are not. So, we have a new amazing segment that I'm sure is sweeping the nation. It is the product of the week and the tip of the week. And
the fans love it. They love them. They've given us nothing but universal praise.
If they're listening to this in the morning, would they say, tip of the morning to you?
I think they would.
They would.
They should if they know what's good for them.
Tip of the morning, if it's morning. So, hi there. Yeah, we have a product of the week, tip of the week, and it's a combo.
It's the same thing this week.
It is. So, our tip and product of the week is Listerine. Or its
more
cousins.
to the point, Fresh Breath.
Fresh Breath is the tip and product of the week.
Could also be brushing your teeth or gum or mints, but Fresh
specifically, we're talking about your Listerines, your Toms of Maine, Winter Fresh, mouthwash.
And we're not just talking about doing this to not offend your coworkers or your significant other. This is a weight loss wonder tip.
Yeah, it tells your mouth, stop. Hey, mouth, stop. Oh, you just ate Pringles? How about you stop now? Is sort of what it says. Again, we need to really work on our delivery for what the product does, like, a little dabble do ya or something like that. But
yabba dabba, little dabble do ya.
But honestly, there are times when I eat something, and just the idea that it is still, I can taste it still, makes me want to eat more of it. And sometimes, I will tell you this, I don't know if you knew this about me, Donald, but there was a time when I didn't want to brush my teeth at night because I wanted the taste of food to linger in my mouth.
Oh my God.
You didn't know that?
I did not. That is
the
horrifying.
Look on his face is... divorce.
Wow.
Oh, that's gone too far.
You do only look thin, don't you? Holy cow.
I think I just surprised my husband. All the things I've talked about, bulimia.
I just can't believe I went to bed next to a yuck mouth all
yuck
those
mouth.
times.
I'm new and changed now. And that's where Listerine comes in and my minty fresh breath. But, here's the actual, so the product is a mouthwash, a breath freshener of some kind, and the tip is keep it everywhere. Like do you have like a crazy old like great uncle who used to hide dollar bills in like socks in his drawers
because he didn't trust the banks.
He didn't trust the banks. He's putting money in books. Like, do that with Listerine. Like, you don't trust the world to not be minty fresh. And I actually have, like, you go to the store, your Markets, your Targets, your Harris Teeters, and you get just a little, like, travel container of Listerine. And not kidding, I have some in our spice cabinet in the kitchen.
That is a true story.
I have them in each of our bathrooms. I have a travel one that I keep in my glove box in my car, and wherever I go, minty fresh breath follows. You never know when you're going to want to keep yourself from eating.
Full disclosure, I only keep it two places, at home and at work. I have a bottle at work, and I use Tom's of Maine mouthwash, not Listerine.
Yeah, so whichever you choose.
Anyway, the point here is that when maybe you're eating lunch and you feel full, you feel satisfied, but you're you kind of get a little momentum going with it, and you can't stop. So having fresh breath is a deterrent. It's not a cure-all.
So fresh.
It's not going to solve all of your weight loss problems, but it helps to discourage me, at least, from continuing to eat when I don't actually want to.
And like, you eat an apple, right? And then you finish eating the apple, and you're like, well, I just ate an apple, all right. And then you keep going. You're like, meh. But this is for, like, you just had something, like, really salty or savory or something super triggery. And just a little bit of mouthwash really helps. And, fun fact, if you just do a little taste of it, like just wet your tongue with it, I know this is very, you don't even have to spit it out anywhere. It's magical. You can just swish it around. And
Wow, again, horrified.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so I think we've tipped you and we've powed you as much as we can. We are not sponsored by the fine Toms of Maine company nor the Listerine folk.
No, Big Mouthwash has not had us sell out yet.
They have not, but we are ready for their call as long as it's not cinnamon flavored.
Oh yeah, no, we want to sell
out.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
No cinnamon flavored things though. But this ties into our actual episode, Donald, because getting Listerine is a Band-Aid on a bigger problem. Like, I think there are people in the world who eat to satisfaction, leave food on their plate, and then, I'm sure, go do other things, like, I don't know, volunteer for amazing organizations and
probably.
Like build
with all their spare time
free
that
time.
They don't have to like
for
think
humanities.
about food and obsess about food all the time.
I'm thinking about food.
Yeah.
But the Listerine is the Band-Aid on the bigger problem of not being able to stop yourself from eating, or telling yourself you can't stop yourself from eating. And this goes down on a much deeper level. And for the first 41 years of my life, I was basically a Band-Aid factory of ways to keep myself from eating. And they never worked because I never actually dealt with the problem underneath. We were just talking about the fine family film Poltergeist and how they might have built some houses in maybe where they should not have built some houses.
Yeah, it's fun for kids of all ages.
It's fun. I watched it as a kid. That was not appropriate.
Yeah, not a good idea.
My parents didn't have boundaries.
No.
Spoiler alert, it's been 30 years. I think we can tell the people what happened. They build houses, very nice houses, on a burial ground. And the ghosts did not take that very well.
No, they did not.
And lots of exciting things happened in the movie. But basically, there are ways that we can mask our real issues, and we can brush our teeth. We can come up with gimmicks and tricks to keep ourselves from doing bad things. But we're going to dive in to emotional eating, which is something I did not address until I was 41 years old, and it has changed my life.
I didn't even know it was a thing until I was older than that.
Well, I didn't either. But why don't we, I think sometimes when we're in a situation where we feel out of control, I know for me, something that I did probably from age 14 to 41, was I was looking for a higher power upon which to call to take away my world woes. Speaking of higher powers, I was listening to the iTunes the other day to American National Treasure, Carrie Underwood.
Oh, as you often do.
As I often do. And you know how there are anthems in your life that just transform the way you feel about your focus and your vision. And we were just talking about higher power, and this song so hit me. Like, it just hit me at my core, because I feel like I turn to an outside force to make change in my life.
Yeah.
And, but there's so much stress in the world, and this song talked about, a moment where, life flashed before our eyes. Do you ever feel like there's part of your life that is just, out of control, or any times you wanted a higher power to take over?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I get super stressed out at work, all the time, and I just want to, let something else take over, let something, make me feel better.
Oh, totally. And honestly, I've I feel like I've had a very crazy childhood. I think it started when I was young. Like,
your childhood started when you were young?
I started when I was young.
My childhood started when I was very young.
Very young. But like I've said, like I moved 18 times by the time I was 18.
Yeah.
I've had family
18 for 18.
divorces and like all this chaotic, like really troubling stuff. And I needed something to soothe me and something beyond myself, outside of my world, to take over. I wanted one set of footprints somewhere.
And so, like, this song spoke to you about that?
It totally did. So, like, in the song, and I don't have the lyric sheet. I don't, like, they don't make those anymore, right?
Right.
Just, like,
there's nowhere to even look up lyrics for things.
So, like, there's a woman, and it's Christmas, and she's got a baby for some reason.
Yeah.
And she's driving in the snow.
Oh, I think I know this song. It's about the baby, never mind.
Baby in the back seat.
Yeah.
And so, like, she's low on faith and gasoline, and she's driving really fast, and like she's really stressed out. And I think she moved 18 times by the time she was 18 years old.
Right. And she had a hard week at work.
She had a hard work, and she had like an Excel spreadsheet to do. I think it said something about that.
Yeah.
And
Excel spreadsheet getting me down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she's going fast, and she's like, I can't do this on my own or something. And I'm like, I feel like that. Like, I feel like I can't do this on my own. And
it's sort of like your life is spinning out of control like a car on a late night highway.
Exactly. So she says, and this is like when I knew that this was my song.
Like Carrie Underwood wrote it just for you.
Right. So
I don't even know if she wrote it.
She's driving, right? And she's steering, right? She's in the driver's seat.
Right.
And then, this is what got me.
Right.
She said, Cheez-Its, take the wheel. And I was literally eating Cheez-Its at that exact moment. Like, my hand was in a bag of Cheez-Its. And she was like, Cheez-Its, take the wheel. Take it from my hand. And I was like, I will take the Cheez-Its from your hand, and I will put them in my hand, and I will eat them. And I was like, Cheez-Its, take the wheel.
Honey.
Yeah.
I think that song you're talking about is actually called Jesus, Take the Wheel.
This is shocking and new information.
Yeah, you know how sometimes, like, people, like, you know, they listen to that Jimi Hendrix song and they think he's saying, excuse me while I kiss this guy, and he's actually saying, excuse me while I kiss this guy.
What are you talking about? And there's a bathroom
and
on
there's
the
a bathroom. Right. No, that one's There's a Bad Moon on the Rise. I think this has just happened to you.
So Cheez-Its is not helping Carrie Underwood drive her car?
No.
Like a bag of cheddary, cheesy... So are you telling me that I have built my entire life's sort of structure around Cheez-Its taking the wheel, and you're telling me that it's actually our Lord and Savior?
I'm sorry.
Oh, this is awkward.
Yeah.
This is awkward and new information.
I feel awkward, and the listeners feel awkward.
So are you telling me I didn't have a come to Cheez-Its moment? Like, because I use Cheez-Its to self-soothe all the time. Like, food for 41 years has been my companion, my sidekick, my friend, my single set of footprints was a cheddary, cheesy, crackery, crummy mess.
No, believe me, I have been there many times where I have just thrown up my hands and allowed food to drive, but this song is not about that.
But what if it was? Like, don't you, fine listener, often let Cheez-Its take the wheel? Like, I feel like emotional eating is like basically 90% of my life is emotional eating, or at least it was until this last time journey.
Yeah, exactly. And me too. And I have been there, and I still go there.
What would Cheez-Its do? Cheez-Its would help me forget my woes and my worries. So I'm going to write in, maybe Weird Al Yankovic can do a Cheez-Its take the wheel. Oh, that's such a good idea.
That is a really good idea.
Do you think he takes solicitations from random, very famous interweb podcasters?
I'm pretty sure he will, from us.
Oh my gosh. We're going to be millionaires.
Yeah.
I think this might be our last podcast, because for some reason I'm going to tweet Weird Al Yankovic about Cheez-Its Take the Wheel.
Next week's episode of We Only Look Thin will just be Weird Al Yankovic's cover of Cheez-Its Take the Wheel.
Oh my gosh, if he becomes famous. Or if we are struck down by lightning right now for joking about national treasure, Carrie Underwood. I am so sorry.
So I know we're joking around here, but what does that actually mean? Let Cheez-Its take the wheel.
That means that we soothed with food. And whether it was a Cheez-It or double takeout nights or...
work donuts.
Yeah, or pretending to order for the family when we didn't have a family at the takeout or the drive-thru. I used food as a reward for all of the pain and suffering that I put myself through.
Telling myself that I deserved it, that I was so stressed, that the world was dumping on me so hard that I deserved this food.
So when I started this last time adventure, there was a podcast that I listened to called Real Weight Loss for Real Women, hosted by Cookie Rosenblum. And she talked about...
When your name is Cookie, are you just destined to have overeating issues?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what would your first name be if it was your problem?
French fries.
I would call you Cheese.
You'd call me Cheese. Cheese Wygal.
Cheese Wygal.
Sir Cheese Wygal to you.
Sir Cheese Wygal.
See, I took it back to the opening.
You did.
Bit? Yeah.
So Cookie Rosenblum talked about emotional eating as being... we eat because of shame, guilt, anger, fear, loneliness, worry, and it never occurred to me that that's why I was eating. I was just eating.
No, me either.
And it was mind-boggling.
It bottles the mind.
Bottled the mind. But there are different ways to eat. There's compulsive eating, which is just high volume, you can't stop. There's binge eating, which is a different kind of episode with intense bouts of large amounts of food. And then there's emotional eating, which, guess what? 24/7, y'all, I got emotions.
Yeah, all the time.
All the emotions. And, I had always put myself as the family fixer, the work fixer. I always thought of myself as overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. Everybody else had it better than me. And as revenge reward, I used food to cope with all of those feelings. And I wore my hustle. I wore my exhaustion like a badge. And that badge was covered in delicious, delicious curry sauce.
Yeah, where it was chocolate dipped.
Chocolate dipped
badge.
And it is a numbing agent. It is a delay tactic. And I didn't even know I was doing it for 41 years. And so hearing Cookie's, I'll change her name to something pleasant. Celery. Celery Rosenblum.
Celery Rosenblum. You hate celery.
I do, but it's neutral. It is neutral.
That's true.
I don't even need Listerine for celery Rosenblum.
No, to stop eating celery.
But I used it to forget, and I didn't even know I was forgetting. I just thought it was the way the world went. And it turns out that things that happen in your life are just circumstances. Like, okay, so someone cuts you off in traffic. It does not mean the world is out to get you.
Yeah.
And as revenge, you need a chimichanga. Like, that is not, like, being cut off in traffic does not equal chimichanga.
Right.
Because we'd all have chimichangas.
We'd have chimichangas for days, let me tell you.
So we eat food to feel better about being unhappy with our bodies, which creates a vicious circle. Cookie said that it was like putting lemon on a wound. I said it was like wearing a chum bathing suit to a shark convention.
Those shark conventions they're hard to get into, first of all. And second of all, you do not want to wear a chum bathing suit.
So, I mean, I recognize now all of the excuses that I made to eat. And none of the things that happened equaled food. Like, hunger equals eat food.
Yeah.
Like, Le'Veon Bell not showing up to Steelers practice. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that.
It's not horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It's terrible.
But not food.
Right.
Like,
not
take it
food.
out in the dance. Take it out on the dance.
Dance
it out.
Yeah, dance it out.
But don't eat.
Yeah.
Don't eat to fix it.
I used to use every excuse to eat, and, I was stressed. I was too cold. I was upset about, a TV show getting canceled. Like, I know we were joking earlier, but I seriously used to use everything as an excuse to eat. Anytime I didn't feel, 100% happy, I would turn to food to make myself feel better. And then it was a vicious circle. I was actually punishing myself. I thought that I was making myself feel better, but, as I gained weight and became less happy with the person I was, I just kept eating more.
Cheez-Its take the wheel.
Cheez-Its take the wheel.
But I mean, until I started listening to motivational podcasts, I didn't know it was a thing. And I just thought it was the way my life was. And so Cookie has a couple of suggestions. You can listen to her podcast, which is amazing. But it's not as funny. She doesn't talk about chum bathing suits. But she talks about just...
Product of the week, the chum bathing suit. We'll put a link in the show notes suit. To Amazon.
Where can I find it? It sounds amazing. But, one thing that I had to do, because when I started this, I have talked about being, I was a hollow shell of myself. And I had to just start looking around me and looking at the circumstances of my life and taking note of how I reacted to everything. So Cookie suggests catching yourself the next time you reach for food. And it is a hard, like Donald was just saying, it's a hard thing to spot when you've spent 40-some years just turning to food. It's like you're a toddler who wants immediate gratification. So you got your binky, your food binky, and we self-soothe so quickly. We don't give ourselves time to let Don interject.
No, I was just going to say, like, I was so to, tack onto what you were just saying, that I was so afraid of feeling hungry that I would oftentimes pre-eat. I wouldn't let myself feel that discomfort, and I would, tank up, quote unquote, before I would go places, because I didn't know the next time I would be around food, and I was afraid of not having it.
Right, so that is a form of emotional eating, and we, back to the toddler analogy, the more you give in to an impulse like that, whenever, you see a kid throwing a tantrum at the grocery store because they didn't get their new He-Man toy. I don't know where that reference came from. Definitely not my brother. He used to throw tantrums.
Yeah.
I love you, Matthew, also. I just said his name.
And this was just last year.
This was last year. Anyway, but, you can't give in to a toddler. It is not helpful to give in to a child's whim, to a teenager's whim. You have to set boundaries. And we forget as adults, and I think I mentioned this on a recent episode, like the day I realized I had moved out of my parents' house and I could have ice cream for dinner.
Yeah.
Like I was grown. I was a grown up and I could eat ice cream for dinner.
No, I think we all have that toddler inside of us. And my toddler just constantly wanted treats, food treats.
Yeah, and it's that we are not used to sitting with discomfort. And it was a revelation to me to sit and own my feelings and really parse them apart and figure out what I was actually upset about. Do you feel taken advantage of? Did you feel like your needs weren't being met? Do you not have boundaries? Like, I didn't have boundaries. I was just like, well, if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. I've got to volunteer. Like, it's on me because nobody else in the world can do it. And that was a little bit of a martyr situation. And we all know that the real victor is Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its are going to fix it.
Cheez-Its are going to take the wheel. I really used to do that, especially at work, but also sometimes with family matters, just thinking I had to be the person to fix it all, and I had to take it on myself, and, I would get woe is me, I'm so put upon, I deserve this box of donuts.
Well, and we've talked about it before, Donald works in the movie business, and he is under immense pressure to do multiple things at once. Everything is an emergency. Everything happens, has to happen today. And, hundreds of thousands of dollars can be on the line daily if Don doesn't get his job done.
If I make a big enough mistake, I can, cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to go up in smoke.
So for many years, he used that as an excuse to eat. An excuse he did. And I I enabled that excuse. When he was tired, I would also be tired, and I would want to go out to eat and enable that behavior.
So it's your fault. Thank goodness. Oh, man, I release all responsibility that I had for it. But, sometimes I've had to get really honest with myself, too. Sometimes I just wanted an excuse to eat. Like, I would take on other people's pain as my own just to give myself an excuse to indulge in something. Oh, man, my best friend had a flat tire on the way to work today. Like, I'm just so stressed out about it. I better... I keep going to donuts today. I don't know what the deal is.
We bought some donut, low-calorie ice cream. That's probably why. But it's that, I used to do that too. Taking on other people's emotions and their emotional state is a codependency issue, which I learned about also. There's so much to learn on podcasts. Listen to podcasts, everybody. Oh, wait, they're doing it now. But,
Listen to this podcast especially.
If I had family in strife, I would want to fix it. I would want to make it better. I would want to, put a new house over the foundation of the burial ground and just pretend that everything was fine. And food, it turns out, does not fix the stuff. Thanks to the Half Size Me podcast, Heather Robertson there talked about boundary issues. And there were big little things that I didn't address with family members, with colleagues, with Donald, with our daughter, that I just felt like I had to take on everything and I didn't have a choice. Turns out I have a choice. I have a choice to be overwhelmed. I have a choice to take on more things, not leaving time for myself. And that habit of overextending yourself is just a habit.
And eating the food does not make all of those problems go away. They're still there. The things that are stressing you out, the things that are driving you to eat more, I should say driving me to eat more, are still there. And you have to become better. I had to become better at recognizing when I was doing it. And that was one of the big breakthroughs in enabling me to lose the 100 pounds was that I now am very good at recognizing when I'm using my emotions as an excuse to eat, and I stop myself from doing it. And realizing that eating that food might temporarily make me feel better, but I'm actually punishing myself.
It's the binky. But and too with that, I still want to turn to food. I think I've talked about it before. We've had some serious family things come up, and in the past, whether it was divorces or bankruptcies or life or death situations, I would turn to food or alcohol to self-soothe, and I have had to practice not self-soothing. It has been something that I have built up. It is a muscle to build up. And, we could go on with 1,000 examples of the ways that we self-sabotaged. But taking the opportunity to want to grow and to examine your life and to examine what, and with the weight loss issues too, we never say start with the biggest thing. Say, you're really upset with your boss about something. We're not saying go pound on his door and tell him what you think of him. But start with boundaries. Start with something really small. You know what? Jim, I'm not going to bring in a Waldorf salad for the baby shower that we're having in the office on Friday. I don't even know what a Waldorf salad is.
Yeah.
Start very small with small boundaries.
Learn to say no to some things. It can be very hard. It's very hard for me. Sometimes somebody will ask me hey, I've got a script, can you read it? And I just have to tell people I don't have time to take that on.
Well, and, volunteer opportunities I better do it. I've got to take it on. And we build those we're the only one who can fix it. We're the ones that, the world is going to fall apart if we don't show up today. And it turns out, the middle school is functioning fine without me volunteering for every, beach blanket bingo day.
Yes.
The world goes on, and other people can step up and do things.
They're still teaching students.
They are. And so, I had to stop putting myself in the middle of other people's problems. I had to start looking at my boundaries and start, I had a family situation where I felt put upon on something. And I felt sick about it, actually nauseous, the idea of talking to my relative about something I wanted. I talked to them. You know what they said? Oh, what? Okay. And so 40 years of anger and resentment about a problem that wasn't even a problem, if I had just spoken my needs earlier, who knows what could have happened? It just didn't occur to me to actually tell someone what I thought or what I needed.
Sometimes the build-up to a confrontation is far worse than the actual confrontation itself.
So with the emotional eating, coming up with alternate ways, even if it's just a small thing, literally, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is canceled or something, and you immediately go, oh, I'm going to go grab some Wheat Thins. Stop yourself and go, do I actually want Wheat Thins? Is this no, I don't need Wheat Thins. I'm not hungry. It's not going to fix the situation. You know what? I'm going to go on a 5-minute walk. I'm going to go walk back and forth to my mailbox 3 times. Just put yourself out of the situation. Change that habit of, upset and discomfort equals food. And just rewrite the story. Start small. We're not asking for perfection, but over time, that habit, that building up of, oh, you know what, I'm going to go take a shower instead of eating right now. I'm going to go, organize the junk drawer. I'm going to go sort the mail. Something small to take you out of the situation for a few minutes. It really helps. I have family stuff that is crazy bananas, and I don't turn to food anymore.
Yeah.
There was a situation a year and a half ago or so where in the past I probably just would have been, crying under the bed with a wine bottle and a straw. And I was like, oh, let's go on a walk. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't eat emotionally. I didn't drink emotionally. I actually did it. It's happening. And it's something to build up over time. And, life is stressful and things are going to come up. But we are grown-ups, and this is our actual life. And if you're creating your future, one must examine one's life. And the work comes from the brain work. And the Listerine also helps, also.
And one of the things that I've done is to try and take the possibility of the emotions out of it. And I have a plan for myself where I know how many calories I'm going to eat a day, and I divide those calories up throughout the day, and I tell myself I'm going to eat lunch at this time every day, and then I'm going to have a snack at this time every day, and another snack at X time, and then I'm going to eat dinner at this time. And I don't give myself the opportunity to eat when those emotions kick in. I'm like, oh boy, I'm really stressed right now, but it's 3:30 and I'm not supposed to eat till 4, so I'm not going to eat till 4.
Well, and that actually really helped me because I have stressful employment, and I used to, when I would have to do something stressful at work, I would tuck into a Cliff Bar, I would grab a handful of nuts, I would grab a snack. And it was avoidance. It was like, oh, well, I'm hungry, so I better eat, and then I'll deal with the problem. And not giving myself food as the answer to my problem has really helped me. Like Donald said, scheduling when you can eat, when you can't eat. Even if it's a high trigger time, you're tired, between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock at work. Having a Snickers bar is not going to answer your work problems. It's just going to make you feel tired and let down later on and exacerbate the problem. So cutting yourself off, closing the kitchen, as it were, we actually do that.
Yes.
In our accountability groups, often we close down the kitchen and just say, you know what, for the next 2 hours, food isn't the answer.
Food is off limits for X amount of time, and it takes your decision-making out of it. You just, you close the kitchen and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so there are so many amazing podcasts like the Cookie Rosenblum podcast, and Brooke Castillo also does a huge, basically her entire program is circumstance and feelings and our actions and results. And so you can listen to them to get in-depth information. But, in the real practical life aspect, we have the same lives and the same jobs and the same stresses that we did 3 years ago. And our reaction to our circumstances is different.
Very different. I'm able to recognize when I'm trying to use food to soothe myself, and I'm able to stop myself from doing it.
Well, and it still happens from time to time, but I recognize that it's happening, and I'm conscious in my, I want to eat right now. Like, I actually say to myself, like, I want to eat right now because I want to avoid doing this, TPS report in Excel. Like, it is stressing me out. And just saying it and calling it what it is takes away that toddler brain a little bit. Because, like, we have the ability to change our habits. And 3 years ago, I didn't think that was true.
No.
I was in my heyday of my eating.
They say, like, how often have you heard the expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? And it turns out that it is never too late for dogs, a.k.a. people, to learn new tricks.
It is not. So, think about why you're eating. Take some responsibility for it. Start setting some boundaries. Start drinking just have a Listerine cocktail when you're feeling, when you're feeling minty and blue. But thank you so much. And just remember, it can be little triggers and giant triggers. I know we brought up some funny things. There are also some really heavy things that happen in our life. So managing them head on, getting a counselor, doing something, having a place to share, I think is really important.
Heavy things like when the post office runs out of those Duck Decoy limited edition stamps.
That is not a reason to eat.
Not a reason to eat?
Not a reason to eat. So thank you so much for listening to us today, and you can find us on the Facebooks.
And you can find us on the Instagrams.
At We Only Look Thin. You can find us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yes, if you have questions for us, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love suggestions for future episodes. We would love for you to tell us how you deal with your emotional eating. Give us some tips.
And tell us how amazing and inspiring we are, and how much we've changed your life.
and if we have, please do us a little favor and go to iTunes and rate us and review us. It would be great if it could be 5 stars. It can be something really quick, like, those two are awesome. Those two are inspirational. But it really helps us out.
And if you've just lost an argument between taste great and less filling, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
Asian. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.